I am Johnny Massacre and welcome to my world. Tonight, review of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. For the second time tonight, any girls would be lucky enough to have two such treats in one night. Who is with me? Give me a hell yeah! So I just reviewed Indiana Jones, but I was rushing because I had something to do and someone was coming to visit. So I'm going to review it again right now. Now, I've been working 18-hour days recently, and I had a 2-hour little break. And what did I choose to do with this tiny little 2-hour oasis of time? I chose to watch Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first Indiana Jones movie. And with hindsight, it was the best thing I could have done. I literally cannot think of anything better I could have done than watching this film. It gave me hope, and it was so entertaining, and it's amazing. So let me review this film, this awesome film from 1981. So it's one of the best films of all time. It's a Jewish revenge fantasy. So the director is Steven Spielberg. He's Jewish. Harrison Ford is Jewish, apparently. I didn't know that. And the movie is a Jewish revenge fantasy against the Nazis. And spoiler alert, at the end, all the Nazis die. And what kills them? This Jewish artifact. God comes out of the Jewish artifact and kills all the Nazis. So the movie is centered around this fantastic relic called the Ark of the Covenant, also known as the Ark of the Testimony and the Ark of God. And it's believed to have been the most sacred religious relic of the Israelites. It is described as a wooden chest coated in pure gold and topped off by an elaborate gold lid known as the mercy seat. Mercy, mercy, mercy. According to the book of Exodus and the first book of Kings, in the Hebrew Bible, the ark contained the tablets of the law by which God delivered the 10 commandments to Moses. So this is a religious artifact. At the center of the movie, they have to find this religious artifact. What it's a metaphor for, we're going to discuss now. Now, this movie, Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's an American take on James Bond. When I was watching it, I was thinking, this really feels like James Bond. So you got one male protagonist, and he goes all around the world to like these exotic places, and meets these fanciful characters. And there's kind of traps and gadgets and poison and things like that. And it's basically the American take on Indiana Jones. It's no doubt about it. No doubt about it. This is influence. It just has to be. But the British are more elegant. James Bond is a bit more elegant. But America, in their take on James Bond, he's kind of roguish, and America's the new pretender to Britain's throne. Well, it is, right? It took the throne from Britain, took over, and it feels like these are the kind of the roguish new pretenders. This is the roguish new pretender version of James Bond, and it's fucking excellent. So the story of Indiana Jones, it starts off in Peru, and it sets the scene for these exotic, evocative, rich locales. And Indiana Jones is with a few guides, and he's looking for some kind of tomb, and he's looking to recover a golden idol. And it's a great character introduction. It teases you. There's so much cinematic foreplay in this film. Indiana Jones, they don't give you the money shot straight away. It's building up. You see Indiana Jones from behind. You kind of see his face turn a bit from behind, but you don't quite see his face yet. And then he finally reveals himself. And it's a great introduction to the character. They go into this tomb, and Indiana Jones is with his guide, and it's full of traps. It's full of spider webs. And they find this idol, and it's this kind of little head thing with weird little eyes. And it just looks so cool and exotic. And as a Brit, I want to steal it and put it in a museum, bruv. So Indiana Jones, he's thinking about how to take this idol. And it's a very famous scene. You've probably seen it. You must have seen it. I know you've seen it. You've definitely seen it. Indiana Jones picks up this, he fills this bag with sand, and it's supposed to be the same weight as the idol, because he has anticipated that it's booby trapped. That if he takes off the idol, the lack of weight is going to trigger some trap. So he pours out a little bit of sand, and there's so much tension here. You know that he could die, and you can't wait to see what's going to happen. He doesn't quite switch the idol with a bag of sand straight away. He pulls out a bit of sand and he's trying to he's weighing up. It's such a cool scene. He's weighing up how heavy the bag should be, and then he's kind of doing, the acting here from Harrison Ford is so good. He kind of puts his hand like this. He's going to grab the idol, and he's got the bag here, and he's weighing up what he's going to do. It's Harrison Ford is a great actor. He's obviously not of the same caliber as someone, someone like, I don't know, Leonardo DiCaprio, like Marlon Brando, take your pick, or like De Niro. But as a kind of lead man who men really admire and want to be, as an adventurer, as a swashbuckling hero, and also who women love, in an action movie, he's fucking awesome. His facial expressions are so great, and they tell you so much without him saying anything. It's really good. So he's weighing it up. He's gonna fucking switch the idol with his bag of sand, and he does it, and then it looks like it's okay. It's so clever, the direction by Spielberg. Spielberg waits until he turns away, and then in Hitchcockian fashion, there's so much Hitchcock influence in this film. The platform, the pedestal of the idol goes down, signifying a trap starting. But Indiana Jones doesn't know it. So you really want to tell Indiana Jones, and it adds this extra layer of tension that he might get killed, and you can't warn him. So he escapes with his guide, but the guide like double crosses him, and there's so much karma in this film. Instant karma. The guide gets skewered and killed. Indiana Jones gets out. There's the famous scene with the rolling boulder. This has to tap into some kind of weird archetypal nightmare. My new word, archetypal and archetype. I don't know, like something chasing you in your dream. It's something to do with that. That's unstoppable and huge. The rolling boulder coming after Indiana Jones is just an awesome scene. I did wonder, why doesn't he, the boulder's on this track above him, so why doesn't he just duck down and the boulder goes over him? He might end up stuck in the tomb. But anyways, it's a fight or flight, right? He's not going to fight the boulder, he's going to flee. So his natural instinct is just run away. Iconic rolling boulder scene, so cool. He gets out. This is where we're introduced to Indiana Jones's rival, and his name is René Belloq. So René has co-opted the locals, which are basically natives with spears and shit, and bows and arrows, and they're all like aiming at Indiana Jones. And Belloq has he has exploited Indiana Jones, and he's by getting Indy to do all the hard work to get this idol, the risky stuff, and he just steals the idol. So that's the character introduction to Belloq. Belloq is he's an intelligent character. Indiana Jones has got a bit more of the physical about him, but Belloq, he's not a fighter. He uses his brain as a weapon. So that instantly makes you hate Belloq. So Indiana Jones goes back to America empty-handed, and he's in school. So his day job as a teacher, I quite like this. James Bond, you'd never catch him doing anything like that, but this sets up the everyman Indiana Jones. He's a teacher, so he's an archaeologist, and he's a master archaeologist, and so he obviously is funded by various bodies to go out and retrieve these things. But when he's not doing that, he works as a teacher. And this is another part of his character introduction. So they set him up as a heartthrob. There's all these kind of babe female students in the class, and they're all looking at him like this really dreamily. So it's kind of comedic and funny. And one of the students is blinking like this, and she's like this hot student, and it says on the eyelids, "I love you," and she's looking at him just like you could see she wants to shag him. It's really funny and amusing. But Indiana Jones, unlike James Bond, which is a character he's obviously based off, he doesn't give in to the temptation. James Bond would have banged all of those students in an orgy probably that very night. But Indiana Jones is kind of flustered by the attention, which makes him relatable. He's not this kind of like perfect, flawless lover boy, conqueror, adventurer. He's kind of flawed, and he's emotional. So that's a very cool scene. And then I forget his name, but Indiana Jones is working with someone in his university, and the dude in the university says, "Some American Army intelligence officers want to talk to you." Oh, very intriguing, setting up the premise for the film here. So American intelligence agencies have intercepted a telegram from the Nazis to Indiana Jones's old mentor, who taught Indiana Jones everything he knows. And it turns out that the Nazis are digging, I think it's in a place called Tanis, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments please, in Egypt. And so the intelligence agencies, what with the Nazis becoming a military force, World War II hasn't happened yet, are a little bit curious about what's going on here, the Nazis are under restriction of the Treaty of Versailles, which were made by the Allies in World War One after Germany lost that war, which basically forbade the Germans from making an army and imposed a lot of financial restrictions upon them. So they're out there digging in Egypt. This, I believe, was actually happening at the time, historically. And the Nazis, of course, could pay whoever they wanted in various countries to conduct operations. So American intelligence agencies are thinking, why the fuck are the Nazis digging out in Egypt? So Indiana Jones comes in here. Indiana Jones has to go and find out what is going on. So Indiana Jones deduces from this telegram to his mentor, known as Mr. Ravenwood, that Hitler is looking for something known as the Ark of the Covenant, which I've already explained, which is this religious artifact in some kind of wooden box gilded with gold that relates to the 10 commandments. Hitler is obsessed with the occult, and Hitler wants to find the Ark of the Covenant to use it as some kind of super weapon to create some kind of army or just kick ass. So Hitler has to be stopped. The army recruit Indiana Jones to go and find out what the Nazis are doing, and therefore Indiana Jones has to find the Ark of the Covenant, which is what the Nazis are looking for. So Indiana Jones, he goes to his mentor's bar, which is in a place called Nepal, and he finds the daughter of Mr. Ravenwood, his mentor, who's known as Miriam. Miriam has something of her father, which is a medallion. Now, this medallion is supposed to show you where the Ark is. The Nazis obviously want to get this because that's what they're looking for. You're supposed to attach this metal circle containing a gemstone to a staff, and then when the sunlight shines through it, that's going to show you the location of the Ark of the Covenant. So while Indiana Jones is going to find this bird, the Nazis show up as well. And the Nazis are represented by this guy called Todt, I believe. And he's the second antagonist of this film on top of René Belloc, who's Indiana Jones's rival, or shadow, if you will. Something we're going to explore a lot later in this review. Now, Todt, the Nazi, he's fucking horrible. He wears black, and he's sniveling, and he's slimy, and he's creepy, and he's just... You know those bad guys who have the high-pitched laugh, and they don't have any physical attributes, but they compensate for that with their intelligence and their sadistic streak. That is this guy. So while they're both trying to get this amulet, the ensuing fight causes a fire in the bar, and the amulet drops onto the floor. Todt goes to grab it, but it's burning hot, and it burns into his hand, and he runs out into the snow screaming and tries to stop the burning of his hand by putting it into the snow, bruv. And so Indiana Jones manages to get the medallion, the key to finding the Ark of the Covenant, if you will, and he fucks off to Cairo with Miriam in the bar. Now, there's a sketchy scene in this bar when Indiana Jones meets Miriam. There's a dialogue where she says, "What you did to me was wrong, like I was young," suggesting that Indiana Jones basically took advantage of her when she was young and was banging her. Didn't say how young she was. That's a very sketchy part of this film. I researched this online, and it turns out Steven Spielberg wanted to make Miriam 12 when Indiana Jones was banging her, and Indiana Jones was like 25. But then Steven Spielberg realized that he couldn't make her 12, but he really wanted to make her underage, and you can find this is documented online. Steven Spielberg wanted to make her 15 and was obsessed with the fact that Indiana Jones was much older and she wasn't of legal age of consent. That was really important to Steven Spielberg. So that was kind of alluded to in this dialogue, which is very, very weird, and it's not something you'd see in a film today. That is for sure. And Indiana Jones's mentor isn't there. It's just his daughter is now there. Indiana Jones's mentor, archaeologist, presumably he's going all over the world, wanted to take his daughter with her, and so took him with her, ended up in Nepal, and I guess the bar was to fund their archaeological missions and hunting for treasure, which is what the protege Indiana Jones is now doing. So it's never really explained what happens to the man that the Nazis sent a telegram to, the expert on the Ark of the Covenant, according to Indiana Jones's notes. We only see his daughter, Indiana Jones, ends up with her many years later. She's a bit pissed off because Indiana Jones left her. So now we're going to Cairo. And there we meet a guy called Salah, which is Indiana Jones's acquaintance, a kind of a burly, bearded guy. He's got quite a British style accent, and I like this guy. And he has a lot of info about what's going on in the area. So Indiana Jones's acquaintance. In the hero's journey, you've got many friends along the way that are going to help you out. And it turns out Belloq, Indiana Jones's rival, is assisting the Nazis to find the Ark of the Covenant, and he's co-opted like some of the local like Muslims, much as he co-opted the kind of natives in Peru to help him like get Indiana Jones. So whatever happened in Peru with the idol is now happening again in Cairo, but with the Ark. Same kind of thing. So the idol in the beginning of the movie is a micro vision of the macro story of this film. And the Egyptians, like the Muslims in this film, the way they're portrayed is so interesting. So there's loads of like dudes, Egyptians walking around, and they're all kind of gaunt and skinny, and they're like, bah, 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 bah. They go over here and da, 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 da. They go over there. And this really feels like what it's like as a white man, like going to another country that's like underdeveloped, and you're kind of walking around going, what's going on here? It really kind of captures that feeling, I think. Does it portray the Egyptians as good or bad? It's like a bit of both. So there's a lot of bad Egyptians who were co-opted by the Nazis and are co-opted by Belloq. But then there's kind of good Egyptians out there who just help Indiana Jones, and it's not really clear. There's no real subplot involving the Egyptians. They're kind of peripheral to the story. Definitely today, you'd have all the woke communist media like fucking Variety and Rolling Stone saying, oh, this is problematic and we shouldn't make it. But I think it's fucking wicked. You're seeing all these like kind of strange like foreigners like doing weird shit, and they look a bit silly to you, as all foreigners kind of do. Right? Like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, what are they saying over there? And I think the way that they're represented is quite cool. And the Egyptians are kind of getting on doing things in their day-to-day lives, and they're kind of being bossed around by the various like imperial forces and stuff. So the way the Egyptians is portrayed is quite interesting and amusing in this film. So Indiana Jones is now here with his girl, and there's a monkey which is following around Indiana Jones, and his girlfriend has like Miriam's kind of got on her shoulder, but the monkey somehow communicates with the bad guys and tells them what's going on, which is very pantomime. So this is what I call the pantomime section of the movie. So Indiana Jones's girl gets kidnapped and he's chasing after her, and it's like a pantomime where the bad guy like picks her up on the shoulder, like runs off stage, and then the character runs off stage, and then the bad guy comes back on the stage and the character follows them over to the other side. It feels like that. So I don't know if this is a good or bad part of the film. I felt it was a little bit incongruous, along with the bar scene before when there was a fight, when I felt like I didn't really know where the action was taking place. Like these two scenes were the only parts of the film that I felt maybe could have been improved. I wasn't so keen on the pantomime element. Indiana Jones' girlfriend ends up in a basket, and she's getting carried away, and then Indiana Jones finds loads of baskets, and then he starts tearing them down and shit. This is the shadow side of Indiana Jones. Doesn't give a shit about the locals. He's just trying to sell their wares and earn a living. He's like, tear the basket down. That was very pantomime as well. But I will say that shot was set up so fucking well. The camera work in this film, and we will get there, is just mwah! Chef's kiss, gorgeous. It's so fucking gorgeous. So when Indiana Jones is trying to find this bird, and he finds all these baskets, and she could be in any one of them, it starts off where the camera's right in his face like this, and then it looks, all you see is his eyes, and then it pulls out, and slowly all the baskets like come into view, and you think, fuck, like which one could she be in? The camera work aiding the storytelling is just absolutely brilliant here. So Indiana Jones thinks his girlfriend dies, so the car blows up that she was in. He thinks she's dead, and their relationship was just kind of getting back together, and he's having like a stiff whiskey in the middle of the desert. Now, nowadays, all this shit would be on green screen, so that the actors have to imagine what's going on around them. But you can see he's actually mad hot. He's drinking a whiskey, and like, presumably they're in Egypt, or it's somewhere, it's got to be fucking hot. He's drinking a whiskey. Imagine having like a straight whiskey in like fucking Egypt. Actually sounds wicked. But the sun's out, and he's looking all depressed and stuff. So in the hero's journey, the character experiences some kind of death, whether metaphorical or real, and then they're gonna resurrect and they're gonna come back from that. So this is the death that Indiana Jones experiences here, and he's got the amulet that shows the way to the Ark of the Covenant. The Nazis are digging in the wrong area. The Nazis kind of they know he's here, and things are getting a bit tense. But Indiana Jones doesn't know how to use the amulet to find out where to dig. So they go to this imam. They go to this imam, Salah, Indiana Jones' mate in Egypt, and Indiana Jones go to the imam. The imam is the sage, the sage archetype who kind of knows the future and can prophesize things, like the old sage man. So he goes to this sage, and this scene is cool because there's a bunch of dates and somebody poisons the dates. This is very James Bond. They always try to poison him or something in some exotic locale. Yes, this is the American take on James Bond. The roguish American take on James Bond. And it's wonderful. There's a bunch of dates. Someone poisons the dates, and then Indiana Jones is talking to the imam with Salah. Now, Indiana Jones picks up a date, and there's so much tension here because he picks it up. You know it's poison, but he doesn't know. So you're thinking, oh my God, he could be poisoned. Again, you want to help him, you want to tell him, but you can't and you're powerless. So it's very, very tense. The longer it goes on, the more and more time you have to worry that something bad's going to happen to Indiana Jones. The more you want to tell him, and he's going to eat it, and then someone talks to him and he stops. It's great, great, great storytelling. It's so engaging. And then Indiana Jones throws it's so it couldn't be more dramatic and drawn out. He throws the date into the air, and you're thinking now, like, it's what goes up must come down, and it's gonna drop into his mouth. He's gonna die. But as the date is coming down, Salah notices the monkey has eaten a date and died, and quick thinking grabs the date before it lands in Indiana Jones's mouth, and he survives. So that's a really great scene. I love that scene. The Imam has told Indiana Jones he needs the staff of Ra. By the power of Ra, he needs the staff of Ra. And then you attach the amulet on top, and then in the Well of Souls, it sounds like a locale in a FromSoft game, classic kind of adventure type vocabulary. When you go into the Well of Souls, which is this Egyptian tomb under the sand, you stick the staff of Ra into one of the myriad holes on the ground, and then the amulet on top, when the sun goes towards it, it will show you the location of the Ark of the Covenant in this kind of mini like map that's on the floor. So that's what Indiana Jones has got to do, bruv. So Indiana Jones, he finds the Well of Souls, and the Nazis found it as well. How did the Nazis find it? Because Toad, the slimy Nazi general, who looks like other Steven Spielberg produced bad guys, like the guy in Roger Rabbit, like wearing all black with the hat. When that guy tried to pick up the amulet and burned his hand, he burned what the amulet said into his hands. Now, the Imam could read it from Indiana Jones, and the Imam has the staff of Ra. But the Nazis, I don't think they could decipher what was written, or it's only partly burned into the Nazis' hands, so they're digging in the wrong place. So that's why the Nazis can't find it. Now, Indiana Jones finds the Well of Souls, and I love this. He's like the colonial Englishman. He just gets all the Arabs. He's like, okay, dig over here, bruv. This is what we do as Englishmen. When we go to a new place, we think, this is rather nice. Like, I want a bit of that. I'll take some of that. Take some of your fruit and veg back. Sell it in my country. Indiana Jones gets his colonial vibes on. He's like, come over here, dig this hole. So all the locals are like digging this hole. He goes into the actually, no, that's for the Ark of the Covenant. That happens later. Indiana Jones finds the Well of Souls, and he goes down in there with Salah, and there's a rope going down. And this is a very cool scene. The lighting is just so cool here. Indiana Jones is like wearing the kind of turban or hat or whatever it is that locals wear. And he uncovers on the floor these holes that you're supposed to stick the staff of Ra in. And he sticks the staff of Ra in, and the amulet's on top of it. The sunlight goes through, and this was what was in The Hobbit, right? The Hobbit, in order to open the door in The Hobbit, they had to wait some part in the lunar cycle in The Hobbit, and the moonlight will like reveal this kind of keyhole. In this film, that the sunlight, with the perfect measurement of the staff of Ra given by the Imam before, reveals, a beam of light goes through and reveals on this map like where the Ark of the Covenant is. And oh, Alien Cat in the comments, I think you might have donated something. I will read that out in a second when I finish the review. Thank you very much, Alien Cat. Love you, mate. Oh, by the way, if you're enjoying this review and you want to donate, streamlabs.com/Johnny Massacre. Oh my God, I think Ellie and Kat donated $100. Man, you're keeping me alive! I feel the life! Thank you, Ellie and Kat. Wow, you're so generous. Really generous. $700 target. Only 9 days to go. We've made $412. You can donate now. Streamlabs.com/Johnny Massacre or paypal.me/gimme a hell yeah. If you donate, it helps me to make these videos. Thank you so much. So Indiana Jones now knows where the Ark of the Covenant is. So he goes to find it. He gets all the locals to like dig this hole. He's like, come over and dig the hole. I don't know if he's remunerating them. And presumably the Nazis are in order to get permission to dig in Egypt with all these, the help of these locals. But I don't know. Maybe Salah, Indiana Jones's mate, is friends with the locals. So that's how they get the the Arabs to dig the hole. They find the location of the Ark of the Covenant. They go inside it, and Indiana Jones, for an archaeologist, he's pretty fucking heavy-handed. So they find this thousands of years old, like kind of stone box that's containing what might be the Ark of the Covenant. They remove the lid, it was very heavy, and they just like throw it on the floor. I'm not sure what school of archaeology Indiana Jones went to, but I'm guessing it's one that's coupled with, I don't know, one of the modern gender studies or something, because he's not doing his job very professionally. Progressive archaeology at its best. Like, throw the fucking lid on the floor, bruv. Don't need that. It's probably worth like £1 million. They take out the Ark of the Covenant with these two long wooden sticks. Apparently, I read about this online. You weren't supposed to touch it because it's blessed by God or something. It's dangerous. They take out the Ark of the Covenant. They're getting ready to rock, roll, and rumble like piping hot. Apple crumble, bruv. When the Nazis, through the smart and intelligent shadow rival of Indiana Jones, has worked out like what's going on, and he draws all the kind of Nazi forces and local like Arabs on their side over to where Indy's digging. Finds Indiana Jones, and just like before the idol, he steals the Ark from Indiana Jones. Again, all Indiana Jones' hard work is a complete fucking waste, and he locks Indiana Jones in this fucking tomb. So it turns out that Miriam's, which is Indiana Jones's bird, has been, she's still alive, and she's been kidnapped by the Nazis. Now, leading up to this is quite a mad scene. So Indiana Jones's shadow is kind of like fancies Indiana Jones's bird, Miriam, and so she's all like tied up and stuff. But Miriam, they make her put on this dress, and he's trying to shag her, and he's playing a drinking game with her. Now, this is so smart because Miriam's character is introduced in the beginning of the film with the drinking game. It's so good, the character introductions in this film. Miriam is like drinking with this really tough guy. There's no dialogue. There's so much of this film is told without a word spoken. It's expert cinematic storytelling, helped often by just the facial expressions of the characters. So Miriam's drinking with this big burly guy. She drinks him under the table, and that sets her up as someone who can drink with the best of them and doesn't take any shit. And it's great storytelling. So that part, introducing a character at the beginning, is also part of the narrative here, because Renee Belloc, the shadow of Indiana Jones, is drinking with her, and you know, because from the beginning of the film, that she's going to outdrink him, and so she nearly escapes, but then the slimy Nazi guy basically stops her. And that's this part of the film. Sidetracking a lot, we'll get back to where we were with the Ark and Indiana Jones getting put like imprisoned in the Ark tomb. That part where she tries to escape from Belloc, she's stopped by Tote, the Nazi slimy guy. And this is a very famous part where he brings out what looks like a nunchuck, like a triple nunchuck, not just two blunt ends, but like three blunt ends, like one in the middle. And you think he's gonna torture her. It's a torture device, but he actually folds it neatly into a coat hanger. There's so much clever humor in this film, and there's so much delaying of the payload. Like, instead of him just turning up and going, okay, it's you're not going anywhere, and I'm gonna torture you. They slowly build it up. He like brings out what looks like a nunchuck, leaving it to your imagination, which is more powerful than anything you could see in front of you in a film. So anyways, Miriam has already been captured. So they throw her into the tomb with Indiana Jones. They just fucking throw her in there, bruv. And I think he captures her. There's loads of snakes in this tomb. So there's so many archetypal things in this film, archetypal symbolism and imagery and metaphors and allegories and stuff like that. And the snake is as archetypal as it gets. So one of the archetypes is the shadow. It's like the nemesis, the enemy, and snakes is like represented by that. In the Bible, what is the enemy represented by? It's a snake in the Garden of Eden. And this film has so many religious themes. I mean, it's like the Ark of the Covenant, the Ten Commandments, like the Judeo-Christian history, all this stuff. And there's like loads of snakes in the tomb. There's just something so intrinsically horrifying about a snake. It's when we're born as human beings, it's already in our brain before we even know what a word is that snakes are bad. So to use that as some kind of horror and negative force in the film is very powerful and memorable. So the tomb is full of these fucking snakes. There's like a king cobra. Indiana Jones falls in there in the beginning. It's right in front of his face. How did they do it? There was a pane of glass between him and the snake. Apparently you can see the reflections in the glass. Anyways, now Miriam's in this fucking place. Indiana Jones has used the torches to kind of burn away through the snakes. That sets those fuckers alight, but the torches are running out. The snakes are closing in. How do they get out? Well, remember, where Indiana Jones has gone to the 2024 School of Archaeology, so he doesn't give a fuck. And he uses this giant priceless statue of Anubis, those like humanoid kind of creatures with wolf heads, and he just smashes it through the wall, bruv. Like fucking smash that $1 trillion artifact. He gets out. The Nazis are escaping with the Ark of the Covenant. So this part sets up an amazing car chase. It's so fucking good that it needs its own section within this review, and we will get to that car chase a little bit later. But quite simply, Indiana Jones chases the Nazis with the Ark of the Covenant. He gets the Ark of the Covenant, and then he's going to take... Mission complete. He's going to take it back to America with his birds, and he gets on a steamboat with some cool captain type geezer. The Nazis can't get rid of him, bruv. They intercept the boat with Indiana Jones on in their U-boat, and then they get the Ark. Indiana Jones is kind of hiding in stealth mode. And so Indiana Jones fucking jumps in the sea, bruv, swims over to the U-boat, gets on top of the U-boat, and they end up in some island in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. So Indiana Jones is in the wrong fucking gear at this point. He nicks a Nazi's costume and he follows the Nazis to wherever they're going. Where they're going is they want to test the Ark of the Covenant, want to open it up. They want to test some of the goods, right, before they sell it. They go under the fucking under the border from Mexico to America and like get rid of the goods. So they're going to test their product. Indiana Jones has got a rocket launcher, bruv. He finds a rocket launcher. He's on top of a fucking hill. And he points this rocket launcher. It's so fucking cool. The rocket launcher. Belloc, who's the intelligent one, kind of outsmarts Indiana Jones and says, "We know that you won't blow up the Ark. We know you're not going to use it." Calls his bluff. And Indiana Jones gets captured again with his bird. They get tied to a post and are forced to watch the Nazis' impending success. They open the Ark of the Covenant. These greedy Nazis, they open it up and it's wow, it's all glowing and shit. All these spirits come out. God destroys the Nazis. So this is future retribution for what the Nazis are going to do later to the Jews. As I said, this movie is a Jewish revenge fantasy. Spielberg is Jewish. I believe Harrison Ford is Jewish. The power of God destroys the Nazis for what they did to the Jews in this film, essentially. So Jewish revenge fantasy completed. And Indiana Jones goes back to America. And unfortunately, the Army intelligence officers take the Ark and they put it somewhere within government control, never to be seen again, which kind of pisses Indiana Jones off. He gets the bird and he walks off. And it's fucking awesome. And I've got to say, Indiana Jones is such a fucking don, and Harrison Ford's acting is so good in this fucking film. When he gets his bird, he's disappointed, walking down the steps of his university, I believe, and his bird's flanking him. And he's obviously pissed off about what's happened. And his girl says, let me buy you a drink. If it were a modern Hollywood film, to avert the male gaze and stop the patriarchy, which doesn't fucking exist, and anything that could be construed as a patriarchy is just a natural order of the world because of the inherent differences between males and females, Indiana Jones is offered a drink by his bird. She's like, I'll buy you a drink, Indy. I mean, he fucking deserves it after all of this. And Indiana Jones, what does he say? Yes, please, I'd like a drink. Nope. He starts and goes like this. Doesn't say shit. Just starts, I'll buy you a drink. I'll consider if you buy me a drink, lady. And he goes, Totally 100% confident he's got her. Doesn't even need to look at her. Feels his arm, goes through his arm, walks down the stairs. Da, 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 da. Mate, this film is fucking all kinds of sick. It's all kinds of amazing. I super, super love it. So that's what happens in the film. Essentially, the story is stop the Nazis retrieving a super weapon. That's what it is. Any good film, it won't take you more than a few seconds to consider what the story is and articulate it. Stop the Nazis from finding a super weapon. That's it. And then all the little interplay is so marvelously fleshed out and done with it in a flourish. And we do it in all kinds of exotic locales. We've got Nepal, we've got Egypt, lots of kind of strange characters. And Harrison Ford, his performance is awesome. It's just amazing. Absolutely wonderful. The fact that the Nazis are in this film really makes you hate them more. It's very clever. They don't have to make you hate them as much as with enemies in other films where you have to explain what they're all about. We already know what the Nazis are all about, and it's rooted in reality. And so it makes it easy to hate the characters. You really, really hate the bad guys in this film because they're Nazis. And I think using the Nazis and blending that with the occult gives more believability to the occult, because the Nazis are kind of real already, and then any other embellishments you do with the story, like the Ark and spirits, it kind of makes it more believable. And the Nazis already lend themselves well to the occult because there's so much mystery about them. Like, what the fuck were they doing and what were they about? So they're a really good match for the kind of occult stuff in Egypt. The art direction in this film is wonderful. So Wikipedia tells me art direction is overseeing the design and physical look of the film set. So that's all the items you see, all the shit you see in the scene, which is like everything. That comes down to the art director. Visual concepts as well, designing the whole set, coordinating the visual style with Steven Spielberg, the director, and the director of photography, whose name is Douglas Slocum. So the art director did that in this film, and they want to bring the film setting to life according to Wikipedia, bruv. The art direction in this film is sick. There wasn't one point in the film where I didn't think I was in Egypt or didn't think I was in Nepal. So they did their job very, very well. And there's so much physical action in this film, which is wonderful because things happen that they didn't expect. And so the actors keep going and they keep rolling the film, and the reactions of the actors are caught for you to see. So it's very genuine. So at the beginning of the film, where all the hot girls fancy Indiana Jones and they leave, there's this flustered guy who I assume is supposed to be a gay guy, and he's flustered because he's gay, and like all the girls, they're kind of leading the charge in seducing Indiana Jones, and he wouldn't get a look in. And he leaves an apple, like comes out flustered, leaves an apple on the desk of Indy. Excuse me. And the apple nearly falls off the desk. The student didn't place it properly, and it nearly falls off. And the guy Indiana Jones is speaking to, his co-worker at the university, kind of picks up the apple, and his performance of picking it up was dictated by the unexpected, that the apple was rolling around when it shouldn't be, and he kind of picked it up and then kind of shined it on his top. So that was quite cool. And another example of something like that, where some action happens that wasn't intended, but they kept the film rolling, was the monkey is giving information to the bad guys that essentially is who's like some kind of reconnaissance officer, if you will. The monkey's on Indiana Jones's girlfriend's back, or Indiana Jones's back, and the character with the monkey on their back, literally, is and metaphorically is speaking to someone. And then the monkey reaches over and like grabs the actor's face. And usually they say, cut, let's do this scene again. But the actor kind of reacts to it, and it actually looks more believable. So there's all these kind of random things that happen in the action that weren't intended, that the actors react to, that kind of looks really cool. Now, I'm going to go fucking mad here, bro. So the director of photography in this film is called, I don't know how to pronounce it, Slocombe, Slocum, Douglas Slocum. I don't think he won an Oscar for this. Correct me if I'm wrong. But this is one of the best looking films ever. It looks way better than modern films. And that's obviously partly because there's no CGI in this film. And when you have green screens and shit like that, it all just looks so fake and sterile. Real scenes, real locations, believable sets, brought to life by the best lighting and cinematography you will ever see in a film. It's that fucking good. This is one of the best lit films of all time. And that's taking into account all the kind of film noirs and the films relating from that, Blade Runner, which were all based on light and shadow. The fucking cinematography in this film is insane. The photography direction is insane. So there's one scene in particular. I'm going to try and find it now because I'm so well prepared. So like Indiana Jones, shadow, eye. There's a scene where he leaves Miriam's bar. Here it is. Like the fucking cinematography here. And this shot does not do it justice. It does not do it justice. But I'm going to try to show you this. So Indiana Jones is leaving Miriam's bar. Now, he opens the door partly and he goes out and he's completely ensconced in shadow. There's a window on the door, and I think there's a lattice on the door so the light can go through. And Indiana Jones is completely ensconced in shadow. I don't know how they did this. He turns around, does a 180, looking over his shoulder, and the only thing you can see is one solitary eye. One solitary eye. Everything else is completely in shadow. So this eye is like suspended in shadow. Now, other than it just looking fucking cool, I haven't had time to consider the psychology of exactly why this is such a powerful scene, other than the fact that eye symbolism is very, very powerful. You know, we are visual creatures. Everything we see and consume that goes into our brain is through the filter of the eye. And so the Egyptians with hieroglyphics, they had lots of eye symbolism. So just on a basic level, just thinking about it now, eyes are very symbolic. Other than that, I don't know why psychologically this is so powerful, but the shot stops there and it looks like a photograph, and it looks like the best composed, most evocative photograph ever. And he stops, and in that moment, it's like the dynamics of the film are so good. It enables you to take in everything that's happened thus far. It enables you to consider like Indiana Jones as a character. Like the eyes are a window into the soul. We're trying to work out what he's thinking, it tells us so much more than anything that could ever be said. Is like the look in this eye, and the fact that it's suspended in shadow. It's so allegorical. It's like an allegory for, you know, Indiana Jones is like lost in this kind of dark place, and you know he's surrounded by evil and like the Nazis and all. You could do a fucking podcast easily, not just about that scene, but the lighting, the shadow, the cinematography in this film. It is just that fucking good. Do you know, I actually feel that we need to find this on YouTube right now. So like Indiana Jones, Miriam's bar, like shadow eye. We probably won't be able to. I wish I would have found it earlier. At least I can show you what I'm talking about. So it doesn't look that impressive here. Is it this one? It is this one. So it doesn't do it justice. But when you see this shit moving, when he turns around and his eye perfectly goes into that hole of light, and it stops there, and there's no sound or anything like that. Man, Norman Slocum, director of photography for Raiders of the Lost Ark, responsible for overseeing the visual look and feel of the film through the management of lighting, camera work, and photographic choices. That man is a fucking god. He's a fucking god. The lighting in this film is that damn good. It's so good. So there's other scenes with like really cool shadows in and stuff. There's a scene where the Nazis are on the balcony overlooking the chaos that Indiana Jones is causing. And you see this beautiful, believable like Cairo street in the desert. The camera pulls back, revealing a man, and then goes around a corner and retreats into a dark room. So the door is this kind of this block of light, and everything in the room is shadow. The Nazi guy goes into the doorway and you can't see his face, so it's so evocative. You're thinking like, who is this guy? It's so mysterious and so powerful. And the guy says a few things. Excuse me. He gives away to his superior, who comes in completely encased in shadow, very wide brimmed hat. Don't see who this guy is. And he just goes, dramatic pause, nod. And then the room, inside the room flanking him is 2 rows of guards. They all disperse out of the room. So without saying anything, the story is beautifully told and beautifully illustrated, like powerful, imposing Nazis, people at his beck and call. He has total power over them. Indiana Jones has a large threat facing him. All shot and told through light and shadow. It's so fucking good. It's so goddamn good. There's another really great cinematic scene where Indiana Jones, it's focusing on his eyes, so he goes around a corner, and then the camera pulls out and kind of pulls back, and you suddenly see like all these baskets in front of him, and his girlfriend's in one of the baskets, and the scene's like evolving in real time from a really close cut shot to like a huge expansive world and scene. It's so goddamn good. The intro of the film, again, cinematography, light and shadow, where Indiana Jones has to replace the idol on top of its pedestal with a bag of sand. The way it's all kind of drenched in gold, which gives you a feeling of antiquity and of the ages, and it's very historical, and it's going to be related to Egypt later. That just looks so cool, like the shining of the gold, the reflections on Indiana Jones's face. Scenes where, again, he's in the shadows and he's all like sweaty and like has this bronze, like gold skin. This film, what can I say? The colors, the cinematography, the shadow, the lighting. Indiana Jones's hat. Let's talk about Indiana Jones's hat, because it's so fucking iconic, and I know part of the reason why. So Indiana Jones's hat in this film is an incredible cinematic device. So why is that? So much of the film is in shadow, as we're talking about, and when Indiana Jones is in the shadow, how would you know it's Indiana Jones if lots of other characters are in and around the scene? Because of his hat. It's a masterstroke. Even when he's in the darkness, that helps you identify who he is, so they can tell more of the story just through his hat as a cinematic device. It's so fucking clever. The hat helps you identify Indiana Jones in the shadows. And there's one scene, again, in Miriam's bar, where Indiana Jones finally comes back to meet Miriam. It's so beautiful. There's like candle lit. There's like shadows everywhere. Miriam is looking at the camera, and a shadow enters the room. Not Indiana Jones. You don't even see it's him, but you know it's him before you even see him, because his shadow is on the wall. So the shadows that Indiana Jones's hat creates show the character from a different perspective. And so it affects you emotionally in a different way as to actually seeing Indiana Jones. It's like his presence is there, but you can't actually see him. You can feel his presence. Even when Indiana Jones is not in the frame in this scene and other scenes, his presence is huge. It's enlarged on the wall. It's like Indiana Jones's personality is illustrated by the size of his shadow on the wall. Indiana Jones is not even in the frame, but his presence is huge because of his shadow. Indiana Jones is inescapable. There's a destiny about him. You can imagine Indiana Jones's expression when you see his shadow, like you imagine what somebody's doing or thinking. This is like cinematic foreplay. It is genius. The way they use shadows, the way Indiana Jones is Indiana Jones fucking shat himself, bro. The way Indiana Jones and his hat makes the shadow as a cinematic device, the way Indiana Jones becomes larger than life through his own shadow, it's so fucking clever. Indiana Jones's hat, bruv. Without this hat, the film would be completely fucking different. And they milk as much drama and juice from it as possible in the best way. So speaking of shadows, the film explores shadow, not just physical shadows, but the metaphorical shadow. So René Belloq, Indiana Jones's rival, he's the shadow of Indiana Jones, and he is the shadow archetype. The shadow archetype is the bad guy. So he's the shadow archetype, and he's the shadow of Indiana Jones. He represents the negative manifestation of Indiana Jones's personality. The shadow of Indiana Jones, Belloq, shows the fine line between good and evil that cuts through every man's heart, just like Alexander Solzhenitsyn said in the Gulag Archipelago. René Belloq, Indiana Jones' shadow, represents our capacity for evil. And the shadow in this film, Indy's shadow, represents chaos, because Belloq is Indiana Jones. It's a reflection of him. Indiana Jones' shadow represents the chaos where something bad can happen at any moment. To you, like in any situation, in this room, I'm in Japan, there could be a fucking earthquake. Even the calmest situations, chaos can manifest. So the shadow in this film represents chaos that can happen to you, but it also represents chaos that can happen from you, like the internal chaos. All the questionable, kind of morally questionable things that Indiana Jones does comes from his shadow side. Like the guy's like destroying artifacts and shit. He destroys this huge Anubis like priceless statue. He's like throwing these baskets down, that these well-meaning merchants are carrying, just trying to make a living, just throwing them down, trying to find his girlfriend. Like, he commits crimes in this film. So this film is all about shadow, not just a physical shadow, but your shadow, your capacity for evil, your capacity for doing wrong, and the shadow of chaos that can suddenly appear at any time. The shadow of Indiana Jones, which is Belloq, his rival, will appear at multiple parts in the movie to destroy all of the good shit Indiana Jones is doing. Like, the darkness will come to destroy the light. Essentially, Indiana Jones is doing what all heroes should do metaphorically, is you spread light where there is darkness. You go to chaos and you establish order. But the shadow in this film, Indiana Jones' shadow, will suddenly appear to create chaos and destroy whatever he's doing. So every time he gets the idol and he's going to bring it back and distribute the treasure, which is what all heroes do with the community, like in a museum, people can see it, stuff like that, the shadow will appear, the chaos will appear, and we'll stop it and we'll fuck it all up. Yes, I believe that Belloq in this film is Indiana Jones's shadow. He's an archaeologist, just like Indiana Jones. He's an explorer archetype, just like Indiana Jones. But they're two sides of the same coin. Indiana Jones is the light side, and Belloq is his shadow side, and they bleed into one another. So they're one guy who's split into two parts. That's like the main kind of if you want to talk about like the shadow archetype in this film, this is where it really resides, is in Indiana Jones's shadow and how that's manifested in his rival Belloq. And it's interesting because they're two parts of the same coin. Indiana Jones light side, Belloq shadow side, and they bleed into one another. So for example, by that I mean sometimes Rene, which is the bad side of Indiana Jones, starts acting like the good side. Indiana Jones bleeds into his dark side. So Rene, instead of killing Indiana Jones, has a little bit of mercy, and he'll steal what Indiana Jones is doing. He'll steal the idol, he'll steal the ark, but he will let Indiana Jones live. So there is some kind of moral deep down in the heart of Belloq. And sometimes Indiana Jones acts like his shadow side, which is just him. Indiana Jones in the shadow is just his personality. Two sides of the same coin. Indiana Jones will act like his shadow. The shadow will bleed into him. So Indiana Jones is like had an illicit relationship with this girl, and Indiana Jones like kills the guy in the famous scene who whips out the sword and kind of brandishes it and wields it and shows off with it. Indiana Jones just shoots him. If that guy came into your house, I guess you could cite the Second Amendment. This guy's invading your space. But Indiana Jones he's in different territory. It's not his own space. It's not his territory. He's in Cairo. A guy's like brandishing the sword. He doesn't run towards Indiana Jones, although he's threatening. And he's quite far away. So before the guy even proves that he's not just showing off and intimidating and actually physically attacks Indiana Jones just fucking kills him straight up with like no investigation here. Okay. And Indiana Jones like wrecking tombs, the Ark of the Covenant, the concrete box that it's in, if you will, container, they pull off the lid, just throw it on the floor. So this film is all about shadow, whether physical or metaphorical. And it's much more interesting to kind of talk about the metaphorical shadow in this movie, which is Indiana Jones himself, and that splits into his rival, which is Belloq. And it's interesting watching the dynamic between the light and the shadow, and the chaos and the order kind of blend into one another. So shadow in this film is a major, major theme, and it makes the film work. It's a central part of the film, whether you can see it or whether it's alluded to. Now, a lot of humor in the movie. It's very funny. I did laugh at a few points. It's not often a film makes me laugh, but there's some very funny parts. Indiana Jones is so comical and so funny, and it's all in his facial expression. So my favorite funny part of the film is where Indiana Jones rides the U-boat. I don't know how he survives that. I don't know where they're going to the island to test out the product before they fucking sell it or give it to Hitler, right? The Ark. And Indiana Jones rides the U-boat in the like Pacific fucking, like where the fuck are they? No, he's probably in the Mediterranean. Like, I don't know where the fuck they are, but they're in a fucking hot part of the world. Indiana Jones survives riding a boat with no shelter, like no food and water. And the guards finds him. It's funny because he goes past his shadow and he bumps into his shadow. He bumps into Belloq, and Belloq goes like, "Who the fuck's that?" And Indiana Jones like walks it off. The shadow's like converging with the thing that's making the shadow. Then a Nazi guard finds Indy, and he doesn't know what to do. So he's quiet, and the Nazi guard's like bollocking him, and he's like touching his clothes, and Indiana Jones is thinking, okay, I'm caught. But it's so clever dramatically. Again, the film doesn't say, hey, you know, you're not a Nazi with subtitles. It leaves it to your imagination and draws it out. There's like tension, and you fill in the blanks. So it's so much more evocative that way. And the guard, it actually turns out he's dressing down, for want of a better expression, Indiana Jones for not being dressed properly. So he's like, you're not wearing the right Nazi uniform. So he's telling Indiana Jones to wear the right clothes. And Indiana Jones's facial expression from being scared to realizing, oh, this guy is actually, he doesn't realize I'm Indiana Jones. He thinks I'm a German. And then Indiana Jones has to buy himself time to think what he's going to do next without giving away the game. So he goes, and you can see he's pretending as an actor to pretend. It's very like meta. He's pretending as an actor to pretend to the German that he's actually a German, and he conveys that really well. And he's like, you can always see the cogs in his brain moving, eliciting him kind of thinking, well, what am I supposed to do here? And this is really stupid. And he goes, and then he knocks the guy out, and then the guy goes off the screen, and the hat flies up in pantomime fashion. Now I cussed the pantomime scenes earlier in the film, but the way the hat flies up and after his facial expressions, I was laughing. It's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. Again, the scene where the guy brandishes the sword and Indiana Jones shoots him. It's so well acted by Harrison Ford. He kind of goes like, bang, and shoots him. So how to even convey what he's thinking there? It's as if he doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to shoot the guy, but he kind of feels, okay, I have to do the guy. And he also conveys, this is kind of an annoyance to me. Even having to like raise my pistol out of its holster and kill you is an annoyance to me. I get the fuck out of my way, showing you Indiana Jones doesn't have time to take shit from anybody. And the way he pulls out his expression and his annoyance, it's kind of like a minor annoyance, which makes it so comical, because the annoyance he expresses at having to murder an intimidating guy with a huge cutlass is the same kind of expression you'd have for, I don't know, like running out of bread in the kitchen, like, have to buy some bread. He's like, I have to fucking shoot you. It's so good! And it's so funny. It's so funny. So I'll get to your questions in the comments, Ashley, at the end. Thank you for your comments there. We will get there. So, another part of this film that I have to talk about is the car chase. So the car chase is all kinds of great, and it really confirms Harrison Ford as a wonderful actor. It's probably the best car chase I've ever seen. And it's so smart because the Ark is inside a truck, and at the front, in front of the truck is the bad guy Toht, the Nazi, and Belloq, Indiana Jones' shadow. And if Indiana Jones gets inside the truck, they can't shoot him easily because they're going to shoot the artifact, which is the whole point of this film and the thing that they've been after. It's this priceless thing that could be the super weapon, or at least get them a lot of money. It's valuable on so many levels. So this scene is clever because Indiana Jones knows that, and he uses that to his advantage. He's very opportunistic. So Indiana Jones comes on a white horse, and yes, there's so many tales, archetypal tales, where the hero's on a white horse, going back to the Norse tales, with that kind of tree and you know, like the different types of gods and the elves and stuff that Tolkien basically stole, and like the hero on a white horse, Harrison Ford on a white horse. Again, written by George Lucas. He read The Hero with 1,000 Faces, the guy who perfectly explained what the hero's journey was on a psychological level. George Lucas used that to write Star Wars, and he also was writing Indiana Jones. So there's so many archetypal scenes on the white horse, the hero. He goes up to the truck, and I'm thinking, how the fuck is he going to accost this truck and commandeer this truck without getting shot? But then he goes close to it, so they can't really shoot him. It's really clever. Indiana Jones gets into the truck, throws out the driver. Now, this scene is so well acted because Indiana Jones goes through the whole range of emotions. So at the beginning, Indiana Jones is kind of looking very serious, and then it kind of turns to fear and anxiety. So he's driving this car, and there's another dude driving it with him. So again, like digressing even further, this is really clever because he's fighting with this guy for control of the wheel. Then they're going to hit all this scaffolding and potentially get killed. So the guy who's your absolute enemy, who you want to kill, now he's your best friend, and you have to work together to drive through drive across this obstacle course without getting killed. So briefly, his worst enemy turns into his friend, have to survive, and then it's the enemy again. It's so fucking clever. Going back to his emotions here, anxiety. Indiana Jones is full of anxiety and fear when he sees this scaffolding that could kill him. So we've gone from like intense looking, like confident look, to anxiety and fear. Then when Indiana Jones gets rid of that guy, he's ramming Nazis off the road. And when he rams the Nazis off the road, his expression changes to excitement, like yeah, and satisfaction, and he's thrilled. It's thrilling. He's kind of enjoying it, ramming them off. And that tells you a lot about Indiana Jones. This guy, he's a real fucking hero. He does whatever it takes to complete the mission, and he's kind of getting pleasure out of killing these Nazis. Brilliant. Then a guy swings, the last Nazi there, he goes over the top of the car, and this is after Indiana Jones is looking in the wing mirror. Again, lots of eye symbolism in this film. The final Nazi's going over the top of the truck, and then it's kind of out of Indiana Jones's view because he can't be seen in the wing mirrors. The Nazi goes off the top of the truck, swings through the window with both feet, like kicks Indiana Jones in the face, real bitch move, and then somehow throws Indiana Jones out. And he shoots Indiana Jones at this point. I think he gets shot at this point. So Indiana Jones's face, confidence, serious, fear, anxiety, excitement, excitement and satisfaction. Now it goes to pain. So he's shot and he's in pain. He gets thrown out of the fucking window. This is one of the coolest action sequences of all time. He's on the front of the car and his ass is nearly on the ground. His feet are trailing under the car and he's hanging on to the ornamental grille of the Mercedes. Now, I said this film is a Jewish revenge fantasy. So Mercedes, the car representing the Nazis, the German kind of brand, he pulls off the Mercedes logo, like trying to hold on to the car. The ornamental grille is like coming apart. The stuntman goes underneath the car, out of the back. He fucking uses his whip to grab onto the car, pulls himself towards the car. Then this is the icing on the cake. Then we have an exact replay of what the Indiana Jones's enemy did to him, but now Indiana Jones is doing it back to his enemy. So you've got this kind of light and shadow. They kind of mirror each other. You see so much kind of shadow allegory in this film. It's insane. So now Indiana Jones is shadowing what his attacker did to him. He goes on the top of the car in the same way his attacker did, swings through the window with 2 feet first, with feet first. He swings. I'm sorry. I love this film so much. I'm fucking like slurring my speech to get it all out because I love it so much. Indiana Jones swings through the window, feet first, in the same way his attacker did, hitting his attacker in the same way. It's like perfect revenge. And then even more perfect revenge, throws his attacker out of the car in the same way that he was thrown out by the same fucking guy. So you do that shit to me, I come back, and I do it to you, motherfucker. Oh my, so perfect scene. Indiana Jones, he gets the Ark of the Covenant, and he manages to lose the Nazis. So that car chase scene is, what can I say? I could watch that again and again and again. It is just beautiful and perfect. You've got the music as well that comes in at the end. We haven't even got to that. Fucking hell. Is this a perfect film or is this a perfect film? So going into the characters here, Indiana Jones, as everybody knows, he's a flawed hero. This helped really, really push the idea of a flawed hero into prominence and as a trend. The beginning of the film, when he loses the idol, he's being flown back by a friend in a plane, like a biplane, and there's a snake in the seat, and his acting here is really good. He kind of screams, there's a snake in it. His friend says, don't worry, it's just my pet snake, setting up Indiana Jones as a flawed hero, a flawed person. He's scared of things just like you. He's not like a Mary Sue feminist hero like in Force Awakens, who just fucking does everything, so they're just not relatable and they're annoying and political. Indiana Jones is just like you. He's scared of snakes just like you. He'll scream in terror just like a real person would. Indiana Jones, he's always moving forward. There's a movement about Indiana Jones. There's a momentum with Indiana Jones. He's always moving forward. He's so admirable because we all want to get the idol. We all want to get the ark. We all want to get the girl. We all want to get the treasure. We want to get the things that we want the most. Indiana Jones is just always moving toward, like he's never going back. There's no retreat. He's like a fucking honey badger. He's always going towards it without hesitation. And he's afraid of things, but he'll move towards it and he'll conquer it. So the snake is the ultimate archetypal kind of bad guy, right? Or negative thing. He hates snakes so much. When he falls into the when he goes into the tomb with the Ark of the Covenant, there are snakes everywhere. He doesn't want to do it. He falls down. There's this king cobra right in front of his face, this iconic scene. Apparently they used a pane of glass to do that, so he didn't get bitten. And it's just horrible snakes everywhere. But even though he's afraid of it, which makes him relatable, he'll just plow through it. He'll find a way. He'll go he'll just face it, and then just find out how you're going to deal with it when you get there. Tolkien talked about this in The Hobbit. He said, like, the fear of doing it is actually worse than doing it itself. Before the Hobbit goes down into Smaug's lair, he's in the tunnel, and Tolkien literally said, nothing in this adventure before, now, or after ever compared to what he felt when he was in that tunnel before Smaug. And so the point is just go and do it. The actual thing you're going to face, you're going to deal with it. It's the anticipation which makes it worse. And Indiana Jones is all about that. He just fucking goes and does it, and he works it out when he gets there. And actually, when you see him work it out, it's the thought of it was worse than confronting it, which is really interesting. Really interesting when you just in relation to human psychology. So, Indiana Jones, momentum, always moving forward, always challenging things, always facing adversity, always facing the things that he's most afraid of. Marion, his love interest, she's a great character. The intro is so good. As I said, the character introduction, she's drinks this guy under the table. She's a tomboy. She can handle herself against men. She doesn't handle herself with brawn, because a woman like that wouldn't be able to do that against a bunch of Nazis. So therefore, she has an intelligence about her. She can rough it up with the boys, though. So she'll come to the game to play, but she has to play in a different way and use her skills and advantages. She has to use her own skills and traits in order to win the game in a way that you might not typically win it. She doesn't take any shit. She's tough. She's smart. She can outdrink any man in Nepal, and she's great. Toad, the bad guy, the Nazi guy. He's sniveling. He's slimy. He's creepy. He's a giggling freak. There's something really hateable about those characters, which they don't have the brawn. They can't like knock you out or beat you up. But they've got something else that enables them to get the best of you. In this case, it's intelligence, essentially, and status and his resources. And so someone he's got this horrible little giggle, you just want to fucking knock him out, but you can't. So it makes him like a really annoying bad guy, really annoying and a frustrating bad guy. So he's very, very scary, because he's not going to knock you out, but he's going to torture you, and he's going to make your life hell, all the while giggling at your pain. He represents disgust. He's just a disgusting character, and he's pure evil, and he's also represents body horror. So he has a slimy face. He's always like dripping with sweat, and he's like slurping and sniveling and shit. It's disgusting. He's such a disgusting character. And when he burns his hand, it's really in keeping with his character. It actually adds to his character, because his hand is all kind of oozing with like pus, and it's all like it's a painful, slimy, oozing hand. This character represents disgust and body horror. And then he's got this like a melting face at the end, and he's not motivated by anything other than his own personal gain. That's all he wants. Is like, I want to get this shit at the expense of anybody else, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it. That is true evil. And to the point where he has no romantic interest in the main character like the other antagonist, René Belloc. So he just doesn't even care about the woman. He just gets hard off sadistic punishment and torture. So he's just such a great bad guy. And he dies in such a wicked way at the end where all their faces melt. You take that, Tote. So you have to compare these kind of characters to today's modern characters. So all the modern female characters, like in Force Awakens and like current Indiana Jones, they're basically like hateable Mary Sues. So the reason why the female character works in this, Miriam, is because she gets manhandled, because a woman like that would get manhandled. And she's kind of like an adventurer like her dad, but her dad was more of an adventurer. He's the professional adventurer. Indiana Jones is the professional adventurer. Men like adventure way more than women. You look at kind of, injuries, humans who injure themselves, statistics of human injuries. Men do so much stupid stuff like jumping off bridges and all that kind of, women don't really do that stuff. So you're not going to have a woman in a film who's going to do all this stuff that basically men do. So the female characters work in this film because they act according to their biological sex. So Indiana Jones does what men do, which is kind of, we have more of a proclivity to dark, dirty and dangerous work, but women are not as good at that. So Indiana Jones takes the lead with that kind of stuff. But women, there is crossover, right? So women do have those traits, but just not as often as men. So women can do it. So while Indy takes the lead on it, it's more believable if the woman doesn't do it to the same level, but still does it. So she saves Indy's ass in this film as well, because she is tough. And the difference between this film and a modern film is when they save a male character, the women belittle them and kind of shame them, and in a kind of misandric fashion. But in this film, that doesn't happen. So she doesn't save Indy's ass and go, you know, men are always like this, or men can't handle themselves, or like you need a woman to help you. In a way that's not kind of funny or comical, but in a belittling, like a kind of resentful way. None of that happens in this film because she loves Indiana Jones and she admires him. And let's be real, Indiana Jones can be a bit of an arsehole in this movie. When she's kidnapped, Indiana Jones comes to save her, and then he realizes if he saves her, it's going to blow his cover. So he puts the gag back on her and leaves. Now, some people would say, you know, he's a real arsehole here. I think I would have done the same thing, because you're all going to die. If she gets out, she's going to ruin it. She's going to get hysterical. You're all going to fucking die. So it's the right thing to do. But there are points in this film you could say Indiana Jones is a bit of a dick. But women like that. Like, women don't like a subordinate pussy. Women are always trying to test how much shit a man can take. And they do that because when shit really happens that's going to come to get them, they want to know that the man can handle it. And so women would love a character like that. So it's believable that she likes like a bit of an asshole, but a benevolent, like good-hearted guy who's kind of strong and brave and risk-taking. A modern film would not allow that. A modern film would have the woman be the main character, the man would be bumbling and failing, the man would be like a cuck, like always getting on one knee and stuff like that. So these old films are just a natural reflection of the order of the world. This is how men act, this is how women act, and if you put it in a fantastic context with a bit of adventure sprinkled in, this is what would happen. And so it's much more believable. You can suspend your disbelief more when the fantastic shit is being carried out by people who are acting in ways that people act in real life. So the characters in this film are awesome, and they wouldn't make them like this anymore. So, other things to discuss. Hero's Journey. So, written by George Lucas. George Lucas read the book on the hero's journey, the hero with 1,000 faces, then made Star Wars and made this. So this film is the hero's journey. This film is you. Indiana Jones is you. Afterwards, I just had the music in my head. Da, 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 da. I felt like that's me. Like I'm this, or I want to be this. You feel like you're Indiana Jones on the hero's journey. The hero's journey taps into the subconscious part of the brain that wants to explore, which basically means develop and transform, to grow as a human. This is part of the collective unconscious. I believe, and Carl Jung believed this was, you are born with these desires. And that's one of the reasons why this movie is so fucking compelling. And afterwards, you're going to go da 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 da, because it's tickling those parts of the brain that you were born with, that motivate you and impel you to go out and explore, to develop and grow as a human being. All of the archetypes are in this film. You've got the explorer archetype, Indiana Jones, hero archetype, him. You've got the shadow archetype, which is Belloc. You've got the tyrant beast archetype, which is Tote, which is the Nazi guy. You've got the sage archetype, which is the imam who gives the correct measurement of the staff of Ra, that Indiana Jones can attach to the amulet to shine the sunlight through to work out the location of the Ark of the Covenant. So all the archetypes are in here. So when you put archetypes in films, you're gonna fucking love it if it's well made. Star Wars, unbelievably archetypal film. That's why it's become like a religion. A religion, unbelievably archetypal. Religion is basically formed through the filter of archetypes, which makes religion compelling, and it makes Star Wars compelling. It makes it like a religion. It makes Indiana Jones compelling. The movie was written by the guy who read about archetypes in The Hero with 1,000 Faces, and so it just proves that archetypes are real, whether you're born with them in your brain or whether humans create them after they're born. I think it's without question that we do have these kind of images and symbols and things like deep within our subconscious that we all share, you know, like hero, villain, wise man, you know, danger, like snake, like these kind of things. The film is full of it, and it makes it so fucking compelling. Oh my God, it hits you on levels you can barely even understand or articulate. Very meaningful. Hello, Eric, in the comments. So speaking of archetypes, there are loads of allegories in this film for inner struggle and adversity. So, you know, why are these tales so compelling about like jewels in the darkness? You know, the Hobbit going to get this treasure in the darkness. Why do we like these little sparkling things in the dark? You know, using the same logic, why do we like the stars in the sky? It represents something. When you look at a city of Tokyo at night, for example, when I go for a run, I can't now because I injured my hamstring out the marathon. You look at the kind of glowing lights on top of buildings, which is just dark. It's a dark expanse, and these glowing lights, they represent the things you really want to achieve that are blocked by adversity. The darkness is adversity. It's like far away, it's like on top of the building, but the shiny thing is the thing you can get. Those are all the things you want to get, like success, fame, wealth, whatever you name it. We like things shining in the darkness. It's an allegory for the subconscious desires we have. And this film is full of that shit. So Egyptian tombs, again, the tomb is like, the top of the tomb is the threshold to the subconscious, in which is buried all the things that we're afraid to face and talk about and act out and do. So the Egyptian tombs in this movie, very archetypal, they represent all the untapped potential of humans that are hidden behind our greatest anxieties and fears. The greatest anxieties and fears are the snakes in the tomb, the well of souls. So all those things are the things like, okay, I want to give a speech in front of 1,000 people. If I do, I'm going to forget my words. That's one snake. People are going to laugh at me. That's a lot of fucking snakes. That's like the king cobra, bruv. I'm going to lose my job. That's like another snake. So you've got all these archetypal things in the film that represent our deepest kind of fears, and also represent our dreams and desires. So the tombs, that's our subconscious. And then the snakes are the things we're worried about. They're going to stop us getting the things we want. And the Ark of the Covenant, these are the treasures we might get from giving that presentation, or from doing that boxing match, or like taking the risk and like, doing the things that we're afraid to do. This movie is full of allegories for the human experience. And they're illustrated by tombs, dark places, and treasures. So the treasures, as we kind of talked about a little bit now, they represent all we have to gain from facing our adversity. So it's always a tomb, and there's always fucking tombs in this film. And like in The Hobbit, it was a fucking treasure cave. It's always these archetypal narratives of like facing your fears and overcoming adversity to get what you want. It's always going down into subconscious, and it's towards hell, and it's always going into like a tomb or a cave. And this film is fucking full of it. It represents your subconscious, and the treasures, the ark, the idol, are the things that your desires, things you want to achieve. So this film has a lot of symbolism. There's a lot of eye symbolism in this film. There's a lot of eye stuff. There's a lot of close shots on eyes. They're so beautifully lit by Douglas Slocum. They're so beautifully lit. They're just gorgeous. You know, Indiana Jones's eye at the door. They're always well lit, the eyes in this film, and they just look insanely cool. Even in the dark, the eyes have like a flicker in, and just look at like there, see this reflection. That you're always seeing a bit of that in the film. Again, that's the kind of the thing in the unknown, like the little dot in the darkness that's kind of compelling you towards it. There's so much of that symbolism in this film. There's so much archetypal symbolism in this film. There's a lot of archetypal symbols, you know, lots of eyes, there's lots of sun, there's like moon. There's like God and devil and shadow symbolism, Egyptian symbolism, hieroglyphics, all of these kind of tug at what it means to be human. These are all buried already within our collective subconscious. You all also have Nazi symbolism, a lot of powerful symbolism in this film that tell you so much without a word ever being spoken. Other themes in this film, other than adventure and the obvious, are themes of bureaucracy, government conspiracy, which is showed by the intelligence agencies that commissioned Indiana Jones to retrieve the Ark of the Covenant and stop the Nazis getting it and find out what the Nazis are doing. So at the end of the film, Indiana Jones gets the Ark of the Covenant, and it's just taken away from him and sent to, quote, top men to study. So that is a logical fallacy. That is a false appeal to authority. Sorry, you retrieved this treasure. We've taken it because some really clever people who have a high rank have got it. So false appeal to authority there. which is one of the part of the themes of bureaucracy and everything that comes with that, such as conspiracy and oppression and corruption and stuff like that. The people, I think this film is a kind of a criticism of government, like a big government, because it's always the people that do stuff, right? The people produce. People who produce make money. People who produce make the economy good. What does the government produce? Nothing. So when the government try to produce things, when the government like take over your farms and try to produce the food, you get like Soviet famine, everyone dies, and you get shitty economy like in America. The government essentially can't do anything. It's the people who produce something that make everything happen and make the money and make the world go round, baby. So in this film, Indiana Jones is the one who does everything. He produces, with his own resources, and he gets the treasure. But what happens? The government take it away from him in the end. So I think this movie is possibly a criticism of government, big government, and government centralization. Indiana Jones did everything. He produced everything, and he got the Ark. The government did fuck all, and yet the government decide the fate and what happens. So I think it's a criticism of government and government control, and an allegory for the government holding all the power and stripping you of your rights. They own Indiana Jones. They fucking own him, and he serves them at the end of the movie, and he has to do whatever the fuck they say, even though he's an absolute badass. They did not serve him. So I think this movie is a criticism of big government. My personal opinion. If you are enjoying this review so far, don't forget you can donate. streamlabs.com/JohnnyMassacre. So the ending of this film is so brilliant. You remember it, right? The Ark of the Covenant. What happens to it? Final scene. The Ark, its box is being taken down this lane that is created by huge columns of other boxes stacked to the ceiling, some kind of government warehouse. Why is that so evocative? Well, I thought about it. The reason why it's so evocative, seeing a warehouse full of boxes and the box from this story being mixed up with those other boxes and put away, is because this amazing, fantastic movie that's like a universe in itself is but one star in a galaxy of other stories. It's but one box in a warehouse full of boxes of other treasures. So fuck, this movie was amazing, but there's a million more movies and adventures out there. This insane adventure is just one tiny box amid many. The same way as how just one drop of the ocean alludes to the taste of a vast and unknowable galaxy of experience and adventure. Indy's adventure, therefore, taps into the timeless archetypal story that inspires us to achieve great things as human beings, that there is more out there than will ever possibly be known. Every time you have a little taste of this hero's journey, it's just one box in a warehouse of other journeys, and you'll never possibly know it all. And that's exciting. There's so much out there in life, and yet I can go on my own journey too. I can find my own fucking box that the government will steal from me when I fucking found it. So I think that's why the ending is so, so good. That really illustrates a kind of macro view of the hero's journey. It's just one guy who, you know, whether it's Luke Skywalker or fucking like Bilbo Baggins or Indiana Jones, seeing their hero's journey. The hero's journey is a cycle, and that's why life and death is so important in the hero's journey. It's a cycle. It's like they go out, they do this crazy stuff, they come back, they share the knowledge, and then you go on your own journey. This cycle, think of how many cycles there are, think of how many boxes there are so in this warehouse at the end of Indiana Jones. That it's like an allegory for the hero's journey, and part of that excitement is knowing it will never end. Like, it's endless. Even though your life is over, there will be another life. The cycle of life is endless. And seeing that one box, having that one taste of the ocean, seeing that one star, it alludes to a cycle that's endless. And that is just so powerful. And what that is up for debate. But I think it's a divine thing. I think it's a divine cosmic energy. And I think the doorway to that is through these tales. Other things I want to say. The weapon in this movie is fucking cool. Why is a whip so cool? I didn't think about it as deep as the boxes. I want your opinions on this. Please feel free to leave it. I'm happy to hear it. But the weapon, the bullwhip, is so fucking cool. I had the Indiana Jones game up earlier, but it's gone. But if you're just listening and not watching, I've got an arcade behind me. I loaded the Indiana Jones game on that especially, and it's gone off. But I had it on there. I used to love playing Indiana Jones games when I was a kid. Again, it's an archetypal thing. It's part of our brains. Why do I like this guy with the whip who's going on an adventure to find treasure? Because we're born with it, and that's what drives us as humans. The whip is a central part of that. The whip, I remember the video games, like, it was cool. Even in a video game, it was cool because it's part of you. And like things, we like extend ourselves into things that we hold. So like you're extending yourself into this whip. So I guess I'm just thinking of this on the fly. It's like an extension of yourself. It's like it makes you a more powerful person. So you become so powerful with this. And I love the way it really is part of you because you don't lose it. If you throw something or like a bullet, like it leaves you, but the whip is like always there and it never runs out of ammo. So it becomes like this living extension of you. And it's so right. Milky T in the comments says the whip is so versatile. That's one of the reasons it's so cool, because okay, like a gun is more powerful, as Indiana Jones shows when he uses it against the guy with the sword, and if he used it against the guy with the whip, it would probably be a similar outcome as long as he's not standing too close. But the whip is a bullet is more powerful in certain situations. And I love the way, like, the limitation of the whip, like, it can't get you. It doesn't have as much of a range, obviously, as a gun, but the limitation actually can become a strength in certain ways. How is that? And that's so, because that sets up really interesting drama in the film. So you have to be at close range to get the best out of this weapon, which means you're more vulnerable. So that adds like dramatic stakes to what's going on. But in some ways, only the whip can solve this kind of problem, as opposed to a gun. So it's such an interesting weapon, very versatile, as Milky T says, and very situational. So the weapon is cool because, number one, it helps you to navigate your surroundings and alter your surroundings. So various points in the movie, you can hang on the whip, you can use it to swing across a gap to save your life. That helps you alter the surroundings. Indiana Jones, you can change what's around you. You can hit things, you can knock things down. So it basically gives you mastery over your environment and extra powers to navigate it. He attaches it to a car, like 2/3 of the way through the movie, and like pulls himself along. And you could like bring weapons towards yourself and bring yourself stuff. So it's fucking cool because it helps you to navigate and alter your surroundings. And number two, it's cool because it's an area weapon. It's not just focused. You can like fuck up a whole bunch of people or fuck up a bunch of things at once. Number three, it's cool because it's intimidating. The sound of this whip, the sound design in this is fucking wicked. It's like, it sounds fucking good. Listen to the sound of the whip next time you watch this film. It's an intimidating weapon. Now, people see it and they hear it and they're like, holy fuck, I don't want none of that. You hear the sound of like it creates when it fucking hits the air. Imagine what that's going to do when it hits your fucking face, bruv. Other interesting things I noticed about this film was how much it influenced the stealth action in video games. So when I play games like Metal Gear Solid or other games where you're creeping around and stuff, I'm always thinking, yeah, what are the films that influence these? They're actually like nearly every 80s action film, but this film must have influenced things like Metal Gear Solid so much. There's so many scenes. I can't even point out one. There's just so many. They just all fucking like blend into one another, where Indiana Jones like sees a bunch of guys and fuck, okay, so he has to go somewhere surreptitiously and hide behind something, or like hide in something, or take the guard's clothes and pretend to be someone else. This is one of the most influential films ever for the stealth action genre of video games. One thought that came to me about this movie was, if smartphones had existed in this time, this film, none of this would exist. Smartphones and AI, they would have been able to find out so much more information that this trip essentially wouldn't have happened. Like information about the Ark, information about like the length of the Staff of Ra. Probably like a lot of this stuff wouldn't have happened. Also, there'd be so much surveillance with cameras and stuff like that Indiana Jones wouldn't have been able to go to all these places without getting shut down by the authorities. So it makes me think that smartphones and AI kind of rob us of adventure and perhaps a fundamental part of the human experience. With AI everywhere, and technology that allows us to see things pretty much everywhere, I think the days of the individual explorer, like the man being able to go into the wilderness and just kind of find things, you'd be shut down by the authorities before you could blink. So smartphones and AI deprive the individual of adventure. I think this movie is very far away from AI and smartphones, obviously, and it's all the better for it. But the film feels weirdly modern, even though it's set in 1936. It feels like it's kind of set later in modern times, but you sometimes forget it's in 1936. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark really makes you realize how bad cinema has become because of wokeness. So in today's world of political correctness and agenda-driven narratives, could a film like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark even be made? There's no fucking way, I think. Could a film like The Hobbit even be made? No, it's racist. Hobbit's racist. Orcs are supposed to be like foreigners, and it's like there's too many white people in it. And could Ghostbusters couldn't even be made today, and it hasn't been made. So Ghostbusters, for men like doing dark, dirty, and dangerous work. Men are exterminators. How many exterminators are women out there? Probably zero. Probably like less than 1% of exterminators are female. So therefore, Ghostbusters is relatable because it shows a real human experience that wouldn't be made today. So they remade it with women. It all failed, and now they got like half women, half men, like half kids. It's all diverse. Just agenda-driven narratives. That's all they're doing. Political correctness. This film wouldn't be made today, and it's really sad that watching this film made me realize nothing great will ever be made again. Because if the film doesn't have half from this like race of people and half of this gender, then the film won't even be nominated for Oscars and won't receive funding and stuff like that. So these films, which are so important for society, which is burned into my brain as a kid and influenced me to become an upstanding, great man today, we'll never have that as kids. We're just going to be shamed with victimhood propaganda. The world is evil. The world is terrible. You need a big government to sort it all out for you. This movie really rammed that home. Nothing great can be made anymore. It would all be deemed problematic by today's standards. And this film, it wouldn't even get off the ground. They read the script and it wouldn't align with the government agenda and propaganda standards. And like, essentially, this story is not a Trojan horse to promote the message like every film is these days. So it wouldn't be made today. And it's such an important film. Like, how much do people love this film? How much do people admire that character? How much joy? You can't just write it off as it's just a fucking movie. How important are films like this for life? For inspiration, to illustrate these archetypal things that we're born with in our brain that makes us want to challenge ourselves and face adversity and not be afraid to go out and really get what we want, so we can grow and transform. These films like map it out for us. They make it easier. They inspire us and articulate those things. So they're so important, and they will never be made again. The cultural damage done to Hollywood in the last 10 years is incalculable. And this film really made me realize it. We're so far away from this now. We've gone so far backwards because it's become political, hasn't it? These films are a collective memory, and they represent a nation's identity, beliefs and successes. Like Indiana Jones is the fucking American settler who went out like into the faraway kind of dangerous place and like fought the things that they encountered, and they conquered it and they won it, and then look where they are now. They're successful. That's what the film represents. It's like identity. And America's successful, America's strong, America's brave. What is America today? If you look at the hero, a bunch of fucking pussies, a bunch of crying pussies on their knees who are like crying about the past that they didn't even have a hand in. So to take away these kind of films from us is incredibly dangerous and destructive. We need stuff like this. And if anything, they're just a reflection of a nation's identity, beliefs, and successes. And so, I mean, that's why films are not successful now, and they're not making enough money, and they're always flopping, because they're a reflection of a nation in decline who doesn't know its identity and isn't having success. The films mirror that way of thinking today. So it's all gone. These films like this are all gone. This inspiration to millions is all gone. And now films just serve to make the government stronger. But we still have this. It is gold. It is gold. It ain't going anywhere. And I want to say, on a budget of 20 million to make that, Lord of mercy! There's no excuse today not to be able to make good films. Like, even if you made a film half as good as this, I'd be so fucking happy. But there's nothing even like it. And they made it on a budget of 20 million. You don't need any CGI. You don't need one drop of it. All you need is some good locations, like a wicked lead actor like Ford, good script writing, people who like care about stuff, no politics. People who care about politics, parts of their brain are occupied by things that are completely non-related to movie making and artistry. It's like, get anyone out of the process who's political and like they spend all their time and research and occupying themselves with that, and get people in who just want to make a good story, who want to make a good piece of art. 20 million, some good music as well. You can fucking do it. 20 mil, 350 million return off this, and not even adjusted for inflation. Mate, what a fucking achievement. Also, the score, John Williams, oh man, it's so good. Oh, it's so fucking good. So the music in this is on another level. The theme music, without that, how much would you remove from the film percentage wise of its overall quality? Like, you'd be taking away so much. The music is so fucking good. Indiana Jones is 10 out of 10. There's no even question it's a 10. Not you could never say this is a 9. It's the perfect Hollywood tale. And it's a shame, but they just don't make them like this anymore. But don't lose faith, because if they've done something like this before, it can happen again. We just have to get all the cynical fuckers out the way and make something pure and true and artistic. So I hold out hope we can do it again. Stick to the blueprint they had in this film, and it might just happen. So thank you everyone for today. That's my Indiana Jones review, 1 hour and 36 minutes. I did it before today and I was running out of time, and we did it in like 25 minutes, and I thought I have to come back and do it again. So, well, it was all worth it. We got a $100 donation from Ellie and Kat, very kind of you, saving my life. I don't know if I can pay the bills for the next couple of months, and I'm seriously thinking about leaving Japan. Seriously thinking about going home. It might just be a step too far this time. So yeah, after COVID's got in a lot of debt, and in order to stay out here, I got a lot of bills to pay. So I can't spend my time doing this. I have to find other ways to make money. So that's why I didn't make any videos last week. But if you do donate, it will help me to stay in Japan. If I have to leave, it is what it is. But I did love England when I went back there in December, so it will be no bad thing. But I do want to stay out here if possible. So if you can donate so I can keep making these videos and stay out here in Japan, please consider it. https://streamlabs.com/Johnny Massacre, or you can donate on paypal.me/gimme-a-hell-yeah, GIMME-HELLYEAH, or you can become a patron on patreon.com/Johnny Massacre. I'll be shouting out the patrons next month. Big shout out to 𝓚𝓲𝓽𝓻, who's been donating about $250 every month for quite a long time. Without him, I don't know what I'd be doing. Big up to Gary Sanders, the spaceman, who has donated thousands of dollars. I always talk about him when people ask me, like, what are you doing in Japan? Like, how have you survived so long out there? I said, well, there's this guy called Gary Sanders, the spaceman, who donated like thousands of dollars. And then, when I tell that to people, people respect me a lot, and they think, wow, you must be doing something really great. So big thank you to Gary Sanders, who's donated a lot over the years. I would have gone back to England if it wasn't for him. We're at the last bit now. I've got to pay these taxes. If I can pay these fucking taxes, there's no more debt. And then we just continue from there. And we try to make the YouTube big. We're trying to get remonetized. A friend of mine said he was demonetized, lost all of his virality. His videos weren't being shared, got remonetized. Suddenly it was being shared again. Before this channel was demonetized, we were getting like 4,000 views for one live stream. Got demonetized. It doesn't really get shared anymore. So I'm trying to remonetize. I can only attempt every 3 months, and I have to delete videos. YouTube doesn't tell me which ones they are. They just say, you've got some hateful videos. Delete a shitload and hope for the best. I deleted 150 videos last month, still demonetized. So I'm going to try again in a couple of months. We can do that and get the channel big. Then who knows? We can make this into a career, and you'll get me every day, bruv, morning to night. But anyways, big up to everyone who donates, especially 𝓚𝓲𝓽𝓻, especially Gary Sanders. Much love to you all. And take care. But I should read out some of your comments as well, shouldn't I, before I love you and leave you. So we got Milky T in the comments. Hello, Milky. She's always here. Love Milky. Alien Cat says, woke up in the middle of the night, and here's Johnny Live. Thank God you're not doing the Dial of Destiny. Never that, bruv, never that. Same, discussing one of my favourite films, no less, says Milky T in the comments. Ellie says, don't forget the fact that the Nazis were looking in the wrong place because their copy of the headpiece came from the hand of the guy who got burned with an impression picking it up. Yeah, that's so good. So like the guy tried to, it's so clever. How clever is that? They need to get this amulet, and written on the amulet is the instructions of where it is. So he tries to get it, and he's punished for trying to steal it. Instant karma, you touch it, your hand gets burned. But then the burn mark in his hand, he can try to use that information to try to work out where to go. It's so fucking smart. Exactly, Alien Cat. That you brilliantly realise later when he gives a Heil Hitler. Yes. Oh, and PayPal is working again. So, Alien Cat, thanks for the $100 donation. You made me so happy. You really fucking did, bro. You really did. Indiana Jones and the Lats of the Lost Ark, says Sam Dog in the comment. Always giving a Conor McGregor quote to get me hyped. Milky T says, any good film is stop the Nazis from getting a super weapon, lol. Nancy McShane in the comments, who I love, says, I thought at the end we see the Ark in a wooden box being stored away in a humongous warehouse. We did, and we went deep into that. Milky says, no, we see it being stored in a reasonably sized matte painting. Oh, that's very witty, because it wasn't a real warehouse, it was a painting. Ashley Slushy says, hi everyone, Chaos is here. Indy needs no air. What do you think of Solo? Not great. I mean, Han Solo I love, but the movie Solo wasn't great. It was bad. Pretty bad. Yeah, it was bad. Milky says, apparently Indy shooting the guy with the sword was improvised. I don't know. So someone told me that Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford, wanted to go to the toilet, had a bad stomach, and he couldn't really shoot the scene. So he just suggested to Steven Spielberg, why don't I just shoot him? And everyone laughed, and then they did that, and it became one of the most iconic things. Harrison Ford's so important for all these roles. Harrison Ford, Deckard in Blade Runner, Han Solo in Star Wars, Indiana Jones in Indiana Jones. I mean, he's essentially playing himself in all those fucking movies, or his character he created. Fucking legend, literal legend. What a hero. Indy, my hero, says Ashley Slushy, best movie ever. Yes. Milky T says, you're born with the urge to swing a big stick in places you've never been, lol. It's true. Eric is fat, says the unconscious hero. Nancy McShane says, gonna have to watch it all again. Thanks for your lovely rendition. Nancy McShane says, I'm following Fannie Willis. Oh my God, there's so much political stuff to talk about. I'm near Atlanta and have some insight about her. Please, what's your insight, Nancy? Eric is fat, says, so very good production, bad product, interesting socialism. Milky says, the whip is so versatile. Thank you, that helped me giving the review. That's why I love your comments. It helps me do these shows. It really does. We're a team. Milky says, we better not see you trying to fetch everything in your apartment with a whip a week from now, lol. I mean, it's within range. That tells you a lot about my living situation. Milky T says, they don't make Indiana Jones movies like that anymore, lol. Yeah. Why not 12? What? Why not 12? Says Sam in the comments. Conor McGregor quote. Why not 12? Wicked. And there's so much political stuff I wanted to talk about, but I might have to leave Japan, so I couldn't make a show. So, other stuff on the agenda to talk about is Sora, the new OpenAI video software, a Blade Runner video game coming, a Hitler AI, where AI translates Hitler's speech into English, so you can feel the conviction he said in his speeches. It's fucking crazy. Joe Rogan is like really turning against the left, and he says there's a cabal out there who's in control of stuff. And Tekken 8 is destroying woke Street Fighter 6 in sales, like I predicted. Interesting. And yeah, there's a like Trump was ordered to pay something like $400 million for overvaluing his properties when he literally didn't. And they said his property was like valued at 20 million, or like undervaluing his properties. No, what was it? He undervalued his properties to get loans. They said it was worth like 20 mil when it was worth like hundreds of millions. So yeah, like the left is straight up authoritarian. One thing I'm noticing, like Joe Rogan's just caning the left now. He's a straight up Republican, even though he wouldn't admit it. But one thing I've noticed is all of the big heads out there, Ben Shapiro, like Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, all of these people, they're all now saying like the left are just like Russell Brand laughing at them. saying they can't win. They're never going to win. Like, nobody wants this shit. There's even like celebrities coming out who are kind of over the left, and now they're saying, no, I can't fuck with this, and the left is fucked, and like they don't want Biden anymore. Like, Biden's too old, and none of them are saying the one thing that we all fucking know, which is yeah, they can't win, because it is ridiculous. Like, it's as ridiculous as you'd expect from a government that obody ne otid ve orfe in a beginning bay, right? That's what it would look like, and that's why it looks like that. But they're not taking into account what's really going on. Like, it doesn't matter how bad the left are. It doesn't matter that Biden, there's another thing to talk about. Biden, he was found guilty of having classified documents. Remember when that happened? Like, Biden had it as well. But no, Biden had the authority. He didn't. He was actually found guilty of having it, like I said. But they let him off, and to do that in the court, they said that he's too old and doesn't know what's going on. So, you know that meme of like pushing the button, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't? It's like, Biden's fit to be next president. You can press that. Like, he's mentally fit to be next president. Or Biden shouldn't go to jail because he's mentally unfit to handle classified documents. Like, which fucking is it? Because if you choose Biden's fit to be the president because he's mentally he's okay, he's not, because in court documents it just said he wasn't. But if you say that, oh no, Biden is Biden like did what is fucking hell? So Biden, he's mentally fit to be president. So if you say that he is, that means he's guilty of handling the classified documents, because that's how he gets away from doing it. Or you say Biden didn't, Biden wasn't mentally unfit, in which case, I don't fucking know. The logic's hurting my brain. But anyways, I'm having a Biden moment right now. But no, let's get this right. Wait. So, two buttons. One button says Biden is fit to be president. The other button is Biden didn't mishandle classified documents because he's mentally unfit. So that means if you press the second one, he shouldn't be president. But if you press the first one, he shouldn't. He basically is guilty of handling classified documents. So that's a very long-winded way of saying that Biden is. Everybody knows he's mentally unfit, and so therefore he shouldn't be president. Even the courtroom used that as his defense, and it clearly is obvious because on stage he's like walking around like a dodgy old man. He doesn't know where he is, and he's like tailing off. Everybody knows he can't be president. Everybody knows the left has gone too far. Everybody knows the left loves censorship. The left loves calls everything hate speech they disagree with, even things that are fine. Everybody knows the left loves hates free speech. Everybody knows this stuff. Everybody knows that the left wants to teach your kids about gender when they're like 3 years old to turn people into permanent Democrat voters. Everybody knows the left wants to normalize like kids chopping off their genitalia for reasons we've got into so many times before. Everybody knows this shit. So yeah, no, they shouldn't win again, right? The pendulum should swing back the other way, right? The pendulum was already swinging against them when Trump came through, and then they acted like such assholes for 4 years. It should have still gone the other way, but it didn't. It didn't. Why that is, you don't fucking know. Now the pendulum should definitely swing back, right? Everybody knows they're fucking nuts, but it fucking won't. Why? I know why. And you probably know why, but Joe Rogan doesn't know why, and Ben Shapiro doesn't know why, and Jordan Peterson doesn't know why, so it's going to happen again. And look, I've seen Ben Shapiro do this so many times. He said Biden's going to lose so bad in 2020, and he's going to smash it. And he said Biden is barely alive. He's not even sentient. Do you remember all that stuff? Like Ben Shapiro saying that? Biden's barely alive. He can't even string a sentence together. There's no way that this guy, he's in his basement. He doesn't even debate. There's no way this guy is going to become president. And then it happened. And then, okay, we know why it happened, but Ben Shapiro can't entertain that idea, partly because he'll be banned off YouTube, but like I was for saying exactly what I thought about that. And Ben Shapiro can't entertain that idea, so he has to entertain other ideas. It's Trump's fault. Like the problem is Trump. It's not what we all know it is. The problem is Trump. So let's analyze the wrong thing as a solution to the problem. Trump's too blusterous. He's too abrupt. Trump is too direct. Trump is too politically incorrect. Okay, so it's Trump's fault when it wasn't. Then 2022 midterms, Red Shapiro, red wave, Russell Brand, red wave. Then it didn't happen. Then okay, so we need to. Why didn't the Republicans do as well as we thought they'd do? We all fucking know why. Now it's happening again in 2024. I see Ben Shapiro say it. He goes, Biden's going to get going to get trashed in the elections. Trump's going to wipe the floor with him. Trump's this. Trump's doing so well there. Joe Rogan saying on his podcast, several of them recently, the left, there's no fucking way. They're going to get smashed. Bill Maher, even he's saying Trump's going to, he doesn't want it, but he has Trump derangement syndrome, but yeah, Trump's going to win really big. No, he's fucking not. Play this video back in 2024. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how many people love you. It doesn't matter if you have like a fucking rock star attendance for every single, public speech you give, while your rival has like nobody there. It doesn't matter, because the same thing will happen every time. Because what's happening, the reason why you're losing is not the reason you think it is. Like if you have like, I don't know, like you got lung cancer, and that's the problem. You have to remove the cancer from your lung, but you attribute the symptoms to something else. You're like, that's not like, that couldn't possibly be lung cancer. It's to do with like what you're eating. Yeah, so like we're gonna focus on that. That has to be the reason why your lungs hurt. It's not cancer. It's because the things you're eating. So we're gonna focus on that, and then like it gets worse and worse. Like fuck. Okay, so shit, we changed what you're eating. Got to be something else. What could it be? Not enough exercise. Okay, so like do loads of exercise, your lung will feel better. You could try to find other reasons for the problem, but unless you find the cause of the problem, it's actually going to get worse and worse and worse, and then you'll fucking die. So unless you actually look at why Trump lost in 2020 and why Republicans didn't do as well as they should have done in the midterms, and why John Fetterman like swung the fucking John Fetterman like swung the midterms, didn't he? He was like the crucial vote for the House. I think like Democrats retained control of the House because John Fetterman won, when he has less followers on YouTube than I have, even now with a shadow ban. So like we all know why the Democrats did way better than they were expected in the midterms. The same thing is going to happen in 2024. So all the people saying like Trump's going to win, when it happens, they're going to look the other way again, and they're going to go, oh, like it must be because of this. Or I know what they're going to say. They're going to say, oh, Trump's image was tarnished by like going to jail and blah 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 and all the court cases. No. He's as popular as ever, and the left is as bad as ever, and they are as bad as ever because they undensche eBay, they in a they erst face play. The same thing's going to happen again. So I've been noticing all these like conservative commentators saying Trump's going to fucking win big, and we know what's going to happen, and he should win big, and he will win big. But if it's airfay, if it's honest hay, if it's outre, if it's eelray, if it's, you know what I'm saying. So that's a trend that I've been noticing, and it really pisses me off. So it's going to happen again and again and again. Unless you work out the cause of the problem, it's going to keep happening. It's going to get worse and worse every time. And applying like false treatment to the problem, false solution to the problem is going to get worse. So it's going to happen. It's going to look bad. But I think we have to eat bay the argin may of ordfrey in order a ute inway in NT 24 tway. Wouldn't you say so? Whew. Okay. So I don't know why I went on a political rant, but I felt a certain way about it. So yeah, because Trump, like they're trying to charge him like hundreds of millions, and it's like, fuck, man. The Democrats want to create an authoritarian system, and life is so shitty right now for everybody because of what they've created. Have you noticed like the atmosphere just between everyone is so fucking terrible? Everyone hates each other. Everyone's angry. The economy's like fucking trash. You got to spend double to like buy things, so you've essentially got half the money that you had before, and there's so much division, and there's just like racism everywhere. Like literally every single movie is like state propaganda, reminding you you're either a piece of shit or for like ruining someone's life, or your life is fucking terrible and you've had everything stolen from you, and like, you got to vote for us to fix it. Every single film, every single video game, everything. You can't get away from it. It's all created by the left. They are making the world into a shitty place. The people who, like the whole green agenda, like 2024, 2030 goals, the UN, all that kind of shit. The whole like green agenda campaign, it's just like thinly veiled communism. It's fucking everywhere. It's like, you're killing the earth, you're killing the planet. Like, we're going to drive up the price of fuel so you can't travel, you can't get a car. It's harder to like fly. And how do we fix it? With equity, right? It has to be equity, because certain groups are more affected by the environment than other groups, and that's the fault of like the oppressors. So we're gonna, with the green energy plan, I even see it in Japan, like on buildings, like on the side of construction here, they fucking tendrils go far and wide, these commie fucking cunts. I'm never gonna get remonetized, am I? Within those agendas, like green energy agendas, it's also equity. You look at it like Agenda 2030, like blah blah blah, equity, equity, equity. So what does that mean? It's essentially like the grants that the people get in order for construction and stuff like that, it has to be intertwined with equity. So like they're going to have to give like jobs to people on the project, to people based on accident of birth and like intersectional group rather than ability. There's like no meritocracy there. They're going to have to do like redevelopment. They have to build like big housing projects. Perhaps they're like house immigrants as part of the deal, which is part of the Agenda 2030. I wouldn't be surprised if they ask you to build like a mosque or something in your building in order to part of Agenda 2030. It's like there needs to be more equitable, like things for climate, or things for, you know, anything that climate affects. So that's fucking everywhere. You see the green agenda everywhere. Like I see it on the side of a building in fucking, I'm in Tokyo, on the side of the building it's like communism is here, Agenda 2030, equity, like people are oppressed, we have to redistribute. Also part of like Agenda 2030 and like green energy is a stakeholder capitalism that's woven into like all the funding that they dish out, as long as people agree. Stakeholder capitalism is people have a say in the run of your business who didn't even invest in it, basically essentially meaning that government has to take over your business, and the end goal of that is socialism, which creates communism. The government has to organize the socialism in order for the people then to own the means of production, which is communism. That's what I see on the side of the building in Japan. And I can't even imagine what that shit is like in America and like United States, Europe and stuff like that. Why do you think everything feels so shitty? Is it just me? Am I projecting my own situation onto everything else? Or are things pretty shitty right now between people? Are relationships pretty shitty? Does the future look pretty bleak? Are you being bludgeoned with propaganda on a daily basis in everywhere you fucking look, from your phone to the news to movies to video games, everything? The left has done this. The left has created everything. So it's all of this shit. The left are in bed with the globalists who want all of this stuff. That's where they get a lot of the funding from. So if you want it to stop, in spite of my black pilledness, you got to vote in 2024 for Donald Trump. You got to get him in and vote like you've never fucking voted before. Vote in your billions. So even if they try to fix it like wacky races, they won't be able to do it. And that's all I have to say about that. Okay, everybody. Gave you some politics at the end of Indiana Jones. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to get out of here. And I pulled my hamstring, so I can't run the marathon. I pulled it on Sunday. So I'm not sure if I'm going to come to LA now. I might still do, but we're going to have to see. But anyways, I got you, so it's going to be all right. Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Indiana Jones is fucking awesome. Much love to you, and take care.